we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away? Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to. When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the 5th person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments. But on the 3rd trial, something happens.
2.
2.
2.
2. 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence. Ash found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1. 1. They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me. 1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct. In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2.
2. 2.
Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. Ash's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure.
What would you do if you knew your group was entirely wrong? Would you, for example, sit in a burning room just because everyone else does? This hotel conference suite has been prepared for a focus group discussion on internet shopping. But all is not as it seems. We've planted 7 actors who are all in on the experiment. We've said to them, when you see the smoke, do nothing. What will she do? Nothing to start with, so we get her attention. Now, how long before she dashes out of the room?
She's checking increasingly to see what the other people are thinking. But who can she appeal to? The answer is nobody. She turns to the norm of the group. Ignore the smoke. In a real fire, the people in this group would be in very serious danger by now. She feels uncomfortable. She doesn't want to embarrass herself by taking the lead, taking action. But something is definitely wrong.
Lauren stayed in the room for 20 minutes after spotting the smoke, concerned but immobile. The fire brigade say that if this fire had been real, even if flames hadn't burnt through the door, she would have died of asphyxiation in this time. In the end, we had to ask her to leave.
I was just literally waiting. I just thought that someone else is surely going to say something soon.
We tried the experiment 10 times, and the same thing happened over and over again. If the person was on their own, they left quickly. If they were in a group of 3 or more, they stayed, rooted to the spot. The average length of time they stayed, 13 minutes.
We're conducting an experiment on conformity to see how this audience will react to someone who's clearly speaking complete gibberish.
Have you guys ever stopped to think just about how a thought is an idea caught in the fangs of consciousness?
Huh?
Geometry, wisdom, tangerines, it all becomes possible. So eat your soup. That is all the time I have for today. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Polite applause is one thing, but these people are giving Jason a standing ovation for spewing complete nonsense. What made this audience stand up to applaud? It all started with 2 very enthusiastic audience members that we planted in the crowd for some added peer pressure.
So I start seeing people standing up, so okay, I'll stand up.
One incredibly fascinating aspect of mob mentality is how it only takes a few leaders to get the whole mob to follow.
Well, almost the whole mob.
Yeah, they stood up. I was just like, oh, well, have fun doing you. I'm gonna do me.
Darley and his colleagues set up a laboratory experiment to test how the presence of others affects the way an individual interprets an emergency. Students were brought into the lab and asked to view a videotape and record their comments. As the students arrived, they walked past a maintenance worker on a ladder. A few minutes into the videotape, the students heard what sounded like the man falling from the ladder.
Are you all right?
When only one person was present, the sound of the falling worker resulted in an immediate response. The majority of people who were alone in the room attended to the crash. The experimenters then added 2 Confederates. They were instructed to ignore the sound of the worker falling. In this situation, the real subject frequently failed to act. The subject looked to others in the room to interpret what had occurred. The inaction of others communicated to the subject that this was not an emergency. People often take their cues for action from those around them.
These folks who are entering, the man with a white shirt, the lady with a trench coat, one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more. I would try it once again. And this man has apparently been in groups before.
Okay, that lady there with the grey pointing up, that's Karen. She's an innocent passerby, gets on. Everybody else is in on the experiment. She presses a button, immediately complies. You know, it doesn't work every time.
This is so weird that everyone's facing this way and I'm facing that way.
We're on floor 3 for anyone who can't see.
Is he being helpful or sarcastic? We're about to kick it up a notch. What if Scott played some music on his phone and gradually all of our staff in the elevator started to dance? Okay, man in the hat, he's looking at his phone. He's got earbuds in. Who's gonna cave? Oh, his head's nodding, his head's nodding. He's getting down. That did not take long. He has joined in the elevator dance party. Yep, there he goes. The shoulders are going now. He's getting into it. Head bobbing. Nice. He has joined in dancing because everybody else is. No rhyme, no reason, just moves.
In Chad we trust. Hit subscribe now, that's a must. Cringemunch. Let's go. Sit back, unwind, I expose the fakes every single time. Yeah, you know what I came to do. We gon' share a laugh at every single fool. Now, hop in the driver's seat. Come witness the masterpiece. Got these fakes all mad at me. Be real or you got to leave. Psychic liars, fake gurus. So crazy, must be cuckoo. Guarantee you gon' laugh a bunch. Here with the child much.